YouTube, what the crap's going on? Welcome back, HeirofCarthage here, and we are once again at Fort Soll. You can see some nets going off up here on the wall, so you may be wondering what our challengers have brought today for the Fort Soll Challenge. Now, if you're not familiar with the Fort Soll Challenge, I'll link to that video in the description. Go back and watch the initial Fort Soll Challenge, but I'm giving away a $100 Steam gift card in December to the person who wins the challenge. I will be narrowing down the selection to 3 replays and then putting it up to a vote of my community, so that it's kind of a mix of me picking and the community picking so that I won't be too biased. But there's multiple ways you can approach this challenge, and in this video I'm going to cover a few submissions. In this first submission here, this submission is brought to us by Jungle Man. And Jungle Man is taking on enemy force of 144,000 funds, and yes, folks, it is 80 Temple Hoth Luminarks. Now, I'd like to point out a couple things here. Clearly, this replay is going to be focused on the getting the most damage dealt and funds used against you type thing, right? The AI is completely nincompoopishly incompetent at using these Luminarks. They could be shooting down the walls right now. They're not. They have one Luminark up trying to break the gates. I think eventually they do shoot through the walls. I'm going to keep it in fast forward, and I'm going to show you all a couple of key highlights, and we'll see how this goes for Jungle Man. If he pulls it off, which I'm assuming that he did, or else he wouldn't have submitted it, because it does have to be a victory in order to be a viable submission, then we'll judge it. But this is definitely going to be one of the ones that's going to challenge how much money you can defeat without using the gate. He won't be using an official gate cheese thing, kind of like Legend showed, where you can stick a character in the gate to kind of throw the AI off. But the AI will be gate cheesing itself with its inability to attack. So see, look, the gates are open. All the Luminarks are still just sitting out there, and they start coming through one by one. Though occasionally the AI will do something somewhat intelligent, like it'll take this single Luminark and just make a beeline for the capture point, and there is a lot of friendly fire that's going to occur here in this kill box that's been set up by Jungle Man. But I mean, a Luminark is really no threat in melee, and so they'll be shot to bits, over and over again. I'm gonna come back later and kind of show you the results of what's been going on. All right, I'm gonna let you all see what's going on. This is about 13 minutes in. I'm just gonna leave it and fast forward, and you can see that the AI isn't even capable of passing through a gate with the Luminarks. They're just sitting outside the wall and being shot ever so slightly by a few units that happen to have line of sight, such as the Witch Hunter, while they just continuously waste their net abilities. So I would say CA please, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know when 80 Luminarks will ever be involved in any type of legitimate campaign battle, because this is modded. But at the same time, at least knowing, the AI having an idea how to better take advantage of the fact, they have ammunition. They can shoot through the walls. They can blow the wall up and break their way in, and the AI still hasn't figured that out. So now, while I don't necessarily blame CA for not really knowing what to do with 80 Luminarks, it should be fairly apparent that you can at least try to shoot through the walls or something. I'm pretty sure Luminarks can attack walls. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I'll have to go double check that. But this wall is taking damage over here, actually. It may just be, actually, it may be stray artillery fire from the Empire that's damaging the wall. I still haven't seen a Luminark shoot at the wall. I will test that momentarily to see whether or not a Luminark can shoot at the wall. But this wall is slowly taking damage from something. I haven't seen what it is yet. But you can see the Luminarks just keep piling in and not even coming through the gate appropriately. Now, folks, I think I found out what's damaging the walls. You can see that the Luminarks over here actually have a line of sight, and they're firing at the Free Company militia. And so the Luminarks may not be able to directly attack the walls, but they can. I would think they can, since they're doing damage to it. And if they keep shooting, they may actually break the wall here. You can see otherwise the Luminark, the pile of corpses here, the pile of Luminark wagons, just piling up over here. Let's see, we're at 88% damage. I don't know, we'll see whether the Luminarks continue to try and shoot over here. They do have very odd lines of sight. They're honestly a somewhat buggy unit at times with Luminarks. You just never know quite what to expect there. I do see stray Luminark shots firing off occasionally from over here, but we're at 88% wall damage there. You can see that some units have run out of ammo. Jungle Man is just continuing to kill every Luminark that comes through the gate. They are terrible in melee, so even if they end up in melee, they're not likely to accomplish much. And there comes another shot right there. None of those have actually hit the wall, but see, the Witch Hunter got up in there. He got routed, but there was also a bunch of shots coming in that likely caused friendly fire, I would think. Some of these Luminarks are getting shots off through the gate and stuff. It's impressive. One more shot to this wall, and I think it drops. We'll see whether the AI manages to inadvertently break through a wall. This is 20-some-odd minutes in. 38 Luminarks remain. You can see we're at 97% wall damage over here. And then the wall finally comes down. I don't think that was a Luminark shock. I think that there was some leftover artillery fire mixed with Luminark shots that ended up destroying this wall and does eventually let the rest of the Luminarks in, so you can see them attempting to come in. They just keep getting shot to pieces. The power bar says that it's still very much in favor of the Luminarks, but I mean, let's be real here. This is not looking particularly good for the Luminarks, because even if they do get in here, they're going to end up in melee, and they do terrible in melee against anything. Look at this, like even Outriders are screwing up the Luminarks in melee, so not a good look for the Luminarks if they're hoping to win, especially since they have to bash their way through a couple of steam tanks, which pretty much means that a melee win for the Luminarks is utterly and entirely impossible. So 25 minutes of Luminark shooting behind him. Jungle Man finds himself definitely in a position to obtain victory. There is a Luminark making a break for the town center, though. He is going to have to do something about that. The AI could capture the town center, but instead we're seeing a concerted melee effort down here. There's only 28 Luminarks left, and there are sometimes weird things where you'll just see a chain route from the AI, even though the power bar didn't necessarily do it, because again, I don't think armies like this were ever intended to be affecting the power bar. Yeah, look here, one of the Luminarks is capturing the victory point. So we can see the shenanigans going here. 27 minutes of Luminark fighting. Yeah, and there it goes. So just randomly, they all lost their leadership, probably because of the number of models left. And Jungle Man's going to end up with a victory that was worth, I believe, 144,000 gold. So that is one way that it can be done. Let's go take a look at another replay. All right, our next submission in the Fort Soll challenge, this one is by Kendrick, and he says that his method is to use Legends' gate cheese strategy, and we're seeing that, which means the Witch Hunter is going to stand here, leaving the gate open and somewhat screwing up the ability of the AI to lead an attack. Though there are some units, apparently, that can climb the walls here. Look at Strigoi climbing ladders. CA, please. What am I even looking at? Oh my gosh. That was hilarious. Oh, I'm gonna die. Yeah, anyway, the foyer shoots are gonna make short work of Strigoi Ghoul King, who comes in unsupported, and then Morgar the Shadow Cave is right behind him. No doubt he will be shot in the face repeatedly. So there's a lot of units here, and this is quite a bit of spend. I'll go work up the spend and check out what that is after the replay and report on it, but holy crap. So it's a bunch of Minotaurs with great weapons from the two Beastmen tribes, and then a spam of Blood Knights from the Vampire Counts. Let's see how the gate cheese is going. So yeah, it works exactly as intended. The AI has no clue what to do with the gate standing open. This is pretty funny. I think those are the only two units that could climb, so yeah, I would expect he's going to start putting troops on the walls and just start shooting some of these units in the face until the ammunition has mostly been used. He's going to do the same thing here with the Blitz shoots in. This is going to be pretty funny. I'm going to leave it and fast forward. But yeah, the Blitz shoots in is about to absolutely own these Minotaurs with great weapons. The nice column formation where they can fire all ranks, so it's another interesting CA please moment. But hey, whatever. It is what it is. This was totally within the rules, and so again, this will be another one of those replays. I'm going to be looking at replays on multiple fronts, which is how much spend did they defeat, and then also the method in which you defeat the spend will get you a certain score as well. So like using the gate cheese will kind of take away when it comes to method, but it will of course raise your score up when it just comes to pure points. And so these are just different ways of submitting, okay? And when you're playing campaign, since CA hasn't patched it, using the gate bug is totally a cheese that you could use, and feasibly a way that you could defend Fort Soll, which is one of the reasons why I had no issue when Legend asked me whether or not you could do the cheese. I'm like, sure. I mean, if you can do it in the campaign, then you can do it in the challenge, because that's just the way it's going to work. So you can see that the gate cheese here will be extremely effective. You can see the two stanks here not wanting to use their main gun ammunition, but using their steam guns. And we're going to see basically the player. I'll come back later and kind of show you the results after a while. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting one in terms of just the sheer number, or yeah, the sheer funds that were used here, which, if I remember right, he calculated it up. He said 235,119 gold in enemy forces, and that is a huge spend up against the relatively small amount that the player gets. So let's see how it turns out. Right, so we're more than roughly 40 minutes in, and you can see how the kill box patient tactic here of using the gate cheese is paying off. It is paying off big time. You can see a pile of dead Minotaurs and Blood Knights here, and the battle's far from over, but I mean, you can see the troop counts now almost kind of starting to level out, but there is going to be an ammunition problem, and I think that's why whenever this one was submitted, the submitter mentioned that I think this is about the limits of what you can pull off with the cheese, and that'll obviously be because of the ammunition limitation, but you can see just a patient use of the ammunition to where only when it's necessary, only when it'll do the most damage. Look at this, how the grenade launchers firing over the walls, killing Blood Knights as they go, the towers manned the entire time, and clearly the armies here chosen by the AI, or for the AI, were meant so that they couldn't climb walls, they couldn't assault the tower, all that kind of stuff. So definitely, again, tons of points for just sheer number of kills. And then, like I said, we'll have to put in some kind of judgment for method here, because clearly the method, although it does require a skill, like a skill in using your ammunition right, knowing how to use this method, knowing how to, conserve and place your units properly, there's definitely a skill to it here, so I don't want to downplay that. But like when it just comes to score, since it is taking advantage of an AI, then again, I don't know how you don't take advantage of the AI. They're so stupid, it is what it is. But anyway, I'll let you all see what the result is here when it's finished. Alright, at 47 minutes in, there's a bunch of units headed for the hills. Like, Kazrak hasn't even fought, and he's routing, and I'm assuming it's because of army losses for his army, because there's not much left, because the other Beastmen faction is still standing. The vampires may start taking crumbling damage and stuff too, depending on what happens with leadership, because their leadership can only go so low before they start to crumble. So again, the patient attack here still paying off. The Jaeger Corps long rifles saved here towards the end, and they are a very powerful unit. Right now, the gate bug is being taken advantage of by the steam tanks, who are just blasting through units bit by bit. I'm expecting we'll probably see an AI chain route here relatively soon. Even though the power bar is still down really low here for the player, I think that it's going to suddenly tip as soon as the leadership goes a little bit lower for a few more of these Beastmen and vampire units. And here we are at 49 and a half minutes in, and you're starting to see all the vampire units crumbling due to army losses. So the vampires will be gone, and at this point it's just their remnants of Morgar's army which are hanging on. And again, I mean, this is a Beastman army. I don't expect their leadership to hold up. The towers are still firing, and when the AI gets grouped up in kind of goofy little groups like this, it's just all the more likely that it's going to fall apart. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward, and I imagine that here at any moment we'll probably see all the remaining troops out here fall apart, especially with the vampires now disintegrating whenever they come under fire because their leadership is so low. Over here you can see these Blood Knights just crumbling still at the moment. The AI is not even attacking the gates because they're so lost for what to do. It looks like finally a unit's going to step up and attempt to attack the gates. As soon as these Blood Knights come under fire, I imagine, yeah, there they go. They're going to disintegrate. They didn't even come under fire. They just came close enough to an enemy unit. The Blood Knights have now disintegrated. The power bar shifts even more in favor of the player. A few more shots, and I imagine this one is all said and done, because some of the units that are already a little more beat up are starting to waver without being really in contact or anywhere near an enemy unit. So definitely going to be an impressive win in terms of funds and the patient use of ammunition here, I think. So I have to congratulate Kendrick, like I said, on a patient performance here, and really dishing out a huge amount of gold disparity here in terms of what the player army gets to have for use and what the enemy gets. So an impressive win, to be certain. Again, 200 and I think it was like 31,000-ish gold. I mentioned it earlier. So big win for Kendrick. Now, folks, I have one more submission for you. I don't know the exact coin cost of this army, but this one comes from Pufflix, who's taking a bit of a different tack than we saw with the two previous ones. And what he's fighting against here won't be worth nearly as much gold, but it's an interesting one to me because this is maybe a slightly more traditional approach where he's just going to try and get a major victory over a far superior army. I'll have to go work out the gold cost, and I'll let you all see this, but what he's up against is actually a pretty well-diversified Empire army with a lot of very competent melee units led by Karl Franz. There's a warrior priest. There's all kinds of special cavalry out here, including some of the new Kriegsritter and Eisenbombers, and so he's even given the AI quite a few of the special units that even the fort defender gets to use, including the extremely deadly Feuerschützen in here, and some of them have some pretty good chevronage. Now, the advantage that he will have, Demigriff Knights, you can see all kinds of stuff. The advantage he'll have is that the AI is just literally incompetent at sieging a fort. They are terrible. They'll crawl their lord across first, get them shot up. They don't use their units properly to make a difference from range. I mean, here you're going to see a few units that actually will shoot from range, which is pretty impressive that they even managed to pull that off. Now, they will go zerg the walls with melee units. So this will present a challenge to Pufflix and his defense, and that he definitely will have to defend against a lot of units. It's just that as they come over the walls, you can tend to pick them off. So like, for instance, with all the Feuerschützen, one might be thinking, oh, well, this would be easy. The AI can bring a Feuerschützen up, position them right here on the wall, and then shoot down into Pufflix defenders. That would be true were the AI not ludicrously incompetent, but they are incompetent. So for instance, the AI, rather than staying up here and shooting, well, it won't draw on the wall, but you all know what I'm trying to do. Rather than being up here on the wall, they'll move their units down here into a corner and get absolutely owned. So whether you're cheesing, whether you're quote-unquote not cheesing, you kind of are cheesing because the AI is crap when it comes to these battles. And let's be honest, when you look at the actual Empire gun campaign, I cheesed the crap out of it. The AI sucks, and they attack all into one spot, so I just had all my guys stuck up here in layers on this ramp where we shot everybody to death. Like, you know, some people might be like, oh, well, it's cheese if you use the gate thing. Well, I mean, am I not cheesing to some extent back here too? Yeah, there's probably levels of cheese involved with each tactic, but it all ends up becoming cheese in some respects. So see, like right here, Karl Franz literally just walks in front of all the firepower and dies, attempting to capture the gate. So C8, please. But hey, it's all part of the challenge. It just is what it is. Those of you who play Total War, you know this is how it goes, and whenever it comes to some of these epic defenses, you are obviously many times relying upon the stupidity of the AI in order to pull off a victory. We all do it, and it is kind of a necessary evil, but it is something we do. Now, the positioning of the troops for Pufflix is quite nice. He's positioned to where as soon as these troops start to come down off the wall, the troops get owned by all kinds of shooting units. He even had some outriders over here at the grenade launchers. I love the use of the Eisenbombers here, backing up Free Company, kind of letting the Free Company take the initial charge. Look at this. This is a Feuerschützen unit. They could have sat back and fired. AI takes them straight into melee, where they're summarily owned. So, again, I mean, I don't know, though. It is a mod unit, so we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe the AI just can't use the mod unit, but I mean, it's a missile unit at least, right? I don't know. But I guess it just is what it is. So we've got this Feuerschützen here for the defender. It is owning great swords as they come across the walls. The rockets are firing at troops on the walls. This is excellent. So a nice use of all of the tools here for the Fort Soll defenders. And like I said, what would be considered a slightly more traditional defense, meaning that we're not just holding the gate open and forcing the AI through the gate. But at the same time, the AI is so bad that you can kind of do that to them on multiple fronts of their own choosing. So see, like right here, for instance, these great swords get all blobbed up here, and then they're just going to get Eisenbombed into an oblivion. And then everything that's trying to come through the gates, like for instance, we did get a warrior priest that does bust through the gates, and look at this! AI actually putting up a fight. punches the Witch Hunter in the face and is attempting to break through here. So we got a Warrior Priest trying to put up a fight. You can see the power bar already starting to tilt some for the defenders, and with the number of greatswords over here getting absolutely owned. And the Feuerschützen right here again, look at this. All they have to do is reposition, and this steam tank is dead in a matter of seconds because they have this wall position where the steam tank can't touch them. But instead, the AI brings the Feuerschützen down off the walls into the face of an enemy they can't possibly defeat in melee, and they try and get up close and personal in this fight, which is just a mistake of unparalleled proportions for the AI. I think eventually they may get 1 or 2 shots, but you can see that they're going to take gruesome damage in the attempt, while a lot of their units are still even just cycling over the walls. So yeah, here look, the Feuerschützen ends up in melee. Absolutely not where it wants to be, and these ones even fix their bayonet. I'm surprised the AI can even use the bayonet order. Now, the rest of the infantry then attempts to come through the gate, because it is the AI, and the rockets here are going to be used rather spectacularly by, by Pufflix to absolutely murder the units attempting to come through the gate. Everything that attempted to come through the gate gets summarily executed and sent packing, and Pufflix is going to gain a pretty comfortable victory here. It looks like you can see the firepower of his spread out widely, the AI being forced to blob. There is a steam tank for the AI, because again, I do like his pick here in terms of he gave the AI some units that were capable. And some people might be like, well, he may not have put enough funds into this. Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. We'll have to see. But I do like the more gutsy approach here, which was giving the AI a fighting chance with a nice diversity of units. However, as we can see, the AI is just incompetent when it comes to using these units. And you're going to see the steam tank in here again, closing the difference. There's an AI Eisenbomber right here, actually, and it does get some nice shots in. It's going to cause some damage, but at this point, it's too late. The AI army is sent packing, and Pufflix gains a victory in the Empire Civil War submission. So this is Fort Soll being protected against other Imperial lords. In this case, Karl Franz. So here you go. Those were the submissions that I'm going to cover today. Obviously, we had a few interesting ones here, a couple that were just impressive in terms of the spend that they defeated, and then this one from Pufflix, which was kind of fun in the sense that just a slightly more traditional approach, but with the Empire Civil War theme, and again, slightly gutsy there in terms of giving the AI some units that are actually capable. Unfortunately, the AI wasn't capable there, but the units were capable, right? So anyway, let me all know what you think of these submissions. There's more. I'll be back with more submissions soon, and we'll kind of keep summarizing them in videos like this. And once we get all those summarized, assuming I can show them all, I think I can, then I will begin the process of whittling them down into a vote, let you all vote, and then we'll make an award to the winners. So stay tuned. HeirofCarthage signing out of Fort Soll for now, and we'll see you back within these walls soon with some more epic defenses.